Hello. This is a different type of video. Never mind the pimple. Consider it my third eye clearing itself, okay? I guess, yeah, maybe that's exactly what's happening here. So, this is a very exciting video that I want to share with you all and do for you all. And I say you all because men, you might, have women in your life who are experiencing such things, and women, you might be experiencing such things and just not aware. So I don't know if I've ever talked about my journey that I've had in the past that's now over with fibroids. But excuse me. But indeed, I've had a journey, and so let me turn on my heater. Hold on a second. Oh, and indeed, that journey is over. And so I'm here to talk about it. And I'm not sure how deep I'm going to go with it. Yet I'm here to talk about it. So I probably started developing the energy for fibroids back in the 80s, okay? Because of different experiences that I had, in my life journey. And some of these experiences, they led to, I feel like, certain energy being built in the body. And then when I got to the military, I experienced some of that same energy that I experienced in the 80s and 90s too, mind you. Okay. And in the military, I went into the military in the 90s as well. So I was experiencing energy to build these fibroids since the 80s, in the 90s, also in the early 2000s with my first marriage. And so, as a matter of fact, it was in my first marriage. Let's see that I have these on. I had to take these off. It was in my first marriage that I discovered that I had fibroids in the first place. So, and it was just random, like a random office checkup, I think. Oh, I gotta wash this robe. I thought I just did. Maybe I didn't. No, maybe I was intending to, but it didn't happen. Anyway, it's very normal. And so that's when I discovered I had fibroids. And at the time, I just thought, because I was very muscular, my stomach has always been muscular because I've danced all my life. So, and I've worked out all my life. I've been fit all my life. My nails. Clean my nails. So, I just thought it was part of my 8-pack, situation, was a bonus. And no, it was a fibroid. And also, I feel like when I got on birth control, that is when I got on birth control is when the fibroid demonstrated itself as a physical feature. I said the energy had been created in the 80s, in the 90s, and the 2000s. The birth control patch was kind of like the gateway to bring about the physical presence of it. And so I was on the patch, the birth control patch. When I got married, that was the first time I ever got on any birth control because I was a virgin when I got married the first time. Okay, I've been married twice. My first husband cheated. That's why I divorced him. Well, I divorced him because he didn't want to reconcile. Because I was very much so the type of person to reconcile. I have been conditioned into thinking that's what you needed to do as a Christian woman, you understand. I said the energy for the fibroids had been created in multiple ways in my life and then physically demonstrated. So, anyway, and my doctor who told me that I have fibroids was kind of like, oh, by the way, you have fibroids. And I said, oh, all right. She said, don't do anything. Don't even, she just was very nonchalant about it. Like, don't even worry about it. It's just fibroids. And then the second time I heard a doctor tell me about fibroids, fast forward, was, so this was probably like 2003, okay, that I found out I had fibroids, like physically show up. And it wasn't until 2000 and, where my first doctor was like, don't worry about it. I ended up firing her for another reason altogether. There's just certain things she just didn't want to do for me, and I felt like, why do I have to why do I have to fight for a certain test and this and that when my insurance is paying for things? Like, lady, if I'm lady. So anyway, but yeah, she told me not to worry about it, right? And so I didn't. Fast forward, it was 2000 and, where was I? Oh, I was coming out of my second marriage. Now, my second marriage, I divorced him because I got tired of being the financial breadwinner of the house and not having any support from a whole other being. And so I realized I was being an enabler, ultimately, that it was my responsibility to not be an enabler. And so therefore I decided to not be an enabler, and I got a divorce. And so after that divorce, I went to the doctor. Why did I go to the doctor? I don't know. Was it a regular physical checkup? It could have been just like the first one. Or maybe I actually went, the fibroid symptoms kicked in. Okay. So after the second divorce, the fibroid symptoms kicked in. Like, I moved, it's very interesting how everything worked, but those symptoms needed to kick in order for me to actually do something about the fibroids. They needed to kick in. And so, and when I say the symptoms kicked in, like, I had frequent urination, and then I started noticing the fibroid more. Fibroids, because I had many. Okay? Had enough. A lot. They had developed or gotten bigger. I noticed it. I started going potty. I had to tinkle more often through the nights. My stomach was visibly a little bit bigger, and it was off. Like, one side was bigger than the other. So I was like, okay, something's off. So that's why I went to the doctor. And now, mind you, this is the second time that a doctor is telling me about my fibroids. First time was the first discovery of the fibroids in 2003. Now, here we are. This had to be, when did I get my second divorce? Oh, this was about 2013, I think. Yeah, about 2013 or so, which was an amazing time. I'm very glad I got divorced from, both of these energies. Not that they're bad energies. Don't get me wrong. Not at all. Not at all. I would not say that at all. I have nothing bad to say about these people. This is just my experience that I had with them. So, nothing bad. No shade, none of that. Rigmarole. Matter of fact, I love both of them, and I think that they are good people. And, we all have our light, and we all have our shadow, right? So, anyway, got a divorce. Fibroid symptoms show up. I noticed fibroids, and it was a good time. I mean, I was having great sex, actually, but I still would notice the fibroids, But the sex was so good, like I didn't really care. Anyway, went to the doctor, because I was out, and I'm finally free from having the mindset of thinking that I could not be a sexually liberated person, and that having the mindset that sex was a sin, and having the mindset that it was my sensuality was a crime, even though it just so many different things, so many different energies that played a role. And a lot of you can relate to what I'm saying. I know you can, even the things I haven't said, because I haven't really needed to be as excuse me, I was trying to eat before I got here. I don't have to be specific about every detail. You know what I'm saying, okay? You're picking up what I'm putting down. So second doctor tells me, okay, first doctor tells me not to worry about the fibroids. Second doctor tells me, hysterectomy. I said, what? He said, we'll take your uterus. He said, we want to take your uterus. I said, no, I'm going to keep my uterus. By this time in my life, to which he said, oh, okay. It was so easy for him to just say, oh, okay. He went from, we want to take your uterus, to hearing me say, no, I want to keep my uterus, to, okay. So in other words, again, the power of being your voice. You have to. Why wouldn't you be? I'm always my voice wherever my voice is needed to be spoken up. For myself, I always speak up for myself when I need to. And I've had to learn that over the years. Hence, the energy of the fibroids taught me that. So, oh my goodness, this is very powerful, more powerful than I even knew it would be. Okay, a healing journey. A healing journey. So, yeah. So once he heard me say no, and and then he agreed, because what are you going to do? That was the end of that conversation. And I went about on my own. He's a good doctor too, mind you. He just went directly for the medical approach. And I was like, boy, what? No. I went off on my own to study more about these fibroids. So prior to meeting with the doctor, I had already studied about the uterus and all of that. I already knew the importance of keeping my uterus. Because what? I knew the importance of keeping my parts. Only time you remove it, no. No. So anyway, it's not because I wanted to have kids, even though I think at the time I was very much still open to that, just like I am now, because you just never know. You can't shut down everything. You have to be open, especially if you're sexually active, that's a possibility. And it always is a possibility. Okay? So anyway, I said no, left the doctor's office in a positive light. The doctor understood. And I don't even remember what he said after I said no, and he said no. And there was something probably in between, but I don't even know what it was. All I know is I was gone, and I was researching fibroids. And I started researching different treatment options, and this and that and this and that. And I decided to go on this journey of, healing myself from the fibroids. And so I did that. Like I understood the fibroids. I got to know the fibroids. I studied the fibroids, etc., etc. And it got to a point where I felt like I just needed to really, it was time for me to release them and not fiddle-faddle around with strategies that might take a longer time. Like, sometimes homeopathic remedies could take longer depending on what the issue is that's actually being healed. And at the time, I feel like I was just simply ready to remove the fibroids, period. And I found something called laparoscopic myomectomy done robotically, and the doctor that specialized in this. Anyway, somehow I connected to this doctor. I read all his like studies and this, that, and the third, and I ended up getting this laparoscopic myomectomy done for my fibroids. But before I got it done, I met the doctor. He put me on this pain medicine, not pain medicine. He put me on this medicine to help shrink the fibroids before surgery. Mind you, I had lost a lot of iron. I was a pescatarian at the time. I only ate fish. It was a lot going on. And you know, the fibroids can make you bleed more, but I can't remember if I was bleeding more. My symptoms were just that I had frequent urination, and then my stomach, you know, was looking like one side was bigger than the other. It was just because the fibroids. Yeah. And at the time, even then, I was an instructor at a gym and teaching a dance fitness class. So I was very much so physical, like I said, sexually active, doing my thing with the fibroids. And so I still reached a point in time where I was just ready to get rid of them altogether. And so, yeah, laparoscopic myomectomy, got on this medicine that actually put you in premenopause. Yeah, like you would get hot flashes. And the medicine had a high appreciation. Okay, let's say that. And for those of you who don't talk like that, who don't even know what I'm talking about, like, girl, what you talking about? You might say it's expensive. I say high appreciation. That's how I use that word. I don't like saying things are expensive. I prefer to say it has a high appreciation. So that medicine had a very high appreciation. I think one pill at the time was ridiculous. I can't even remember. It was something really absurd, like $900 or $500 for one pill. I'm serious. Yeah. Matter of fact, a friend of mine helped me. This guy I was dating at the time. I wasn't really dating him, but we went on a couple of dates. And so, a really good guy too. But yeah, he was trying to rush into sex, and I didn't. Even though I was hot and heavy with him, I didn't want to rush into sex. I just wasn't trying to do that. But anyway, he actually paid for, or helped me pay for. I mean, he might have paid for the whole thing for the first. It was one pill that I had to take a month, and I had to take it for a series of a few months. He might have paid for the whole thing for the month, and so, which was a blessing. You know, guy did a lot of really nice things for me. Beautiful man. You know, I've had a lot of beautiful men in my life. Sure have, and will continue to. Hello, somebody. So, and women too. You know, everybody. I've had a lot of beautiful people. I tell you, everywhere I go, I get treated so well. I can't explain it. Actually, I can. It's like, it's energy. It's an energy thing. So, I say energy, and then my ear starts like itching. Oh, so where was I? Oh yeah, guy helps me pay for the fibroid medicine, pays for the first round. And it's the medicine to help shrink the fibroids before surgery. So, they have to shrink my fibroids before surgery, so that tells you that they're pretty big. So, interesting side note. My mother-in-law, my second mother-in-law, may she rest in peace. You know, she also had fibroids. And the way she understood them and explained them to my ex-husband were that they were like babies, you know, like the energy of babies that had not fully developed and therefore turned into fibroids. And so I found that to be fascinating, or, you know, maybe different things that never fully developed. Anyway, and you can probably look this up. I think I might have looked this up at some point in my journey of, you know, now that's over, for fibroids, which I will get to, but I have to tell you the path that led to this place. So anyway, I think I might have read other women say the same thing about their fibroids, like they were babies that had not been born. So very interesting, or fully developed. So, and a lot of women have fibroids and might not realize it, but you might have them, and usually they're not symptomatic. There's, it's no big deal to have fibroids. It really isn't. Yet at the same time, for some people, it can become a pain in the butt, and just make you feel too heavy, or burdened, or like you gotta pee a lot, or whatever. Different people have different symptoms. Those were some of mine. Okay. And they grew over time, which I'll explain later. I'm getting to that. Well, I've kind of gotten to it, but now I'm at the place where I got rid of the fibroids. So I'm in the process of going through this laparoscopic myomectomy. I take the medicine for a few months. I go into my surgery. I have an amazing surgery that actually lasted longer. It was supposed to last 4 hours. It ends up lasting 6 hours. And of course, I wake up from being sedated and I'm like, what surgery? So when are you going to start? Because that's how it is when you're under, which is a beautiful, amazing thing. It's just like lights out, period. Lights out, lights on. Lights out, lights on. That's how it feels. And so it's nothing to be afraid of if you have to do surgery. I'm already sending you love and light through this video. That's why I'm creating this video for you, to tell you some of my experiences that I've had, just in case you are curious about, maybe having surgery, or what other options I'm going to be sharing with you as well. So my fibroid surgery, which was done robotically. So all I remember basically is being wheeled into the room. I remember other things prior to, very vague, put on your robe, put on your slip-free socks that they give you. And I'm always treated so gingerly. People treat me like I am so... People treat me like I'm so fragile and so delicate, which is very sweet, very sweet. So I must put off a fragile vibe, and so the nurses, I just remember the nurses being very sweet, and so I ended up being wheeled in the surgery room, and I remember seeing the robotic arms or whatever, and I thought it was really cool. And then I remember seeing my doctor on the other side of the glass, because he was going to be controlling the instruments. And again, I had researched this man. I had read his studies about laparoscopic myomectomies. He was like the man to do the job. And so to see him on the other side of the glass was like, wow. But I only saw him for like a fraction of a second, because again, I got the, my IV and this and that, and they're going to pump the night medicine. And so I had the night medicine, went night. And so when I wake up, of course, I'm like, what fibroids? What surgery? When are you guys going to start? And I'm, literally at the hospital, being put in the bed, and, the fibroids, the fibroids are obviously gone. They did the surgery. And so the nurse is like, yeah, we did the surgery, ma'am. Because, the night drugs make you forget what the hell happened to you. And you don't even care. You don't even know what people are talking about right now. Like, you don't even know what people are saying. And so I'm in the bed. They put me in the bed very gingerly, of course, as usual. And I stayed all night at the hospital, which was a wonderful experience, actually. Only one time, I remember them telling me, if you have any pain, press this button right here, and it's going to release this medicine, and it's going to feel warm. It's going to feel hot at first. When it spreads to your body, then it's going to cool down, be normal. And yeah, I remember that. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to remember anything, hear anything, I'm going to hear that. And we'll be coming to check on you, blah, 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 blah. I had a male nurse. One of my nurses was a male nurse. When my nurses came in there, I was like, oh my God, you're an angel. They were angels to me. My nurses were angels to me. To me. So I only had to hit that button one time. One time. And one time was all it took. And let me tell you, the pain went away. And exactly as they said, with the warm and the hot and the warm and the normal is exactly what happens. Exactly how it went. And so, yeah. But having said that, I'm going to have to get my father to help me take some of the stuff out of my closet. It's such a random side note, which is a story I have to tell you for another day, but not today. So, anyway, yeah. Wake up from the surgery, beautiful surgery. He removed 7 fibroids. There were 8. He removed 6. There were 8. So, allegedly. And he couldn't remove the other 2 because he didn't want to destroy the uterus, which I was glad he didn't. So, yeah. I wake up feeling good, ultimately, except having that one issue with pain, which went away just like that. Just like that. As quick as I hit the button, is as quick as the pain went away. And all kinds of people come into my office. I felt like it was my office. But really, it was the hospital room. So, anyway, yeah, and then some lady came in there, and I think this was the lady that she has to come in to like read you, like, not like just in case something happens to you and this, that, and the third. I'm like, I'm feeling all right, so, but okay. I don't know what you're talking about, but all right. And then I had the hospital food, which was fine by me because I hadn't eaten. So whatever they gave me, I ate. I'm pretty sure. This was a long time ago. I had the surgery in 2015. Okay, no, 20 at the end, December of 2014 is when I had the surgery. Because then after the surgery, I had my big move to California. It was all a journey. I had to remove the weight. I had to remove the baggage in order for me to propel to my next journey. It was very necessary for me. And that's why it was time for them to go. And so when they left, and even the 2 that he had left behind, I hadn't felt them. I didn't care. To me, they weren't there because I didn't feel anything. And, yeah, which was really a blessing, actually. So I end up, having this long healing process after the surgery. Of course, my parents took care of me. My first week of surgery, I spent time at their house. I let them be parents. And, I knew I needed to be around them, and so I was, and they nurtured me, versus like being in my place, So, I didn't realize my ears were clogged, but they were. Wow, how about that? So, anyway, that feels really good now that they're not clogged. So anyway, yeah, so my parents nursed me for a week, and then I was strong enough to go back to my place, and I went back to my place, and, I still couldn't do much, but I was trying to sneak out and do things, and I was like supposed to be not doing things, and, I had some people, one person flew in, really good man to take care of me, literally put the cream on my wounds and cleaned my toilet for me. I mean, just was an amazing human, still is an amazing human, who I ended up having, this long time, this 5-year love with, when I moved to California, by the way. Anyway, another story for another day. I told you, I've had many good men in my life, good in different ways, Everybody having their light and shadow, just like women. Women have light and shadow too. I'm a woman. I have light and shadow. I guarantee I have light and shadow. So, yeah. It's just part of life. So anyway, guy came in, took care of me, um, I ended up, it was a beautiful time. Even though I was healing, it was a beautiful, magical, loving, sweet, lovely time. And I felt surrounded by love, which of course helped me heal. Of course helped me heal. So, and I was surrounded, my mother, staying a week with them, and my mother cooking, of course, that healed me up. And, you know, my mother literally helping me go to the bathroom. She's really good at that. She's really good. She's like top tier nurse. Top tier. Even though my mom's not a nurse, but she might as well be. She's top tier. So, top tier. Oh, my ears are still like unclogging. It's so weird. Probably the medicines, which I'll get to in a minute. So, anyway, fast forward. And I ended up fainting in this. I go back to work. This is at the time I was a college professor or adjunct professor in multiple colleges. Okay. And I ended up going back to work, and I had to because it was my students' final presentation, and I could not miss what they had been working on all semester. Like what I had been like preparing them for in the lectures and in the syllabi and this and that. Like, I could not miss those who had done it. I knew that they needed me to see it, and it was a presentation that they had to do as part of their homework, and so I needed to be there. And so my ass was there, which was fine. I didn't faint there. I fainted when I decided to do extra and go to the mall, because the guy that I was with, I think we were like, I don't know whose idea it was, but somehow we ended up trying to go to the mall and get something to eat, and I fainted. And yeah. And that was fun. And the reason why I fainted was because I was doing too much too soon after my surgery, even though it probably been about 9 weeks at that point, you guys. It was about 9 weeks, I feel like. Because it literally took about, however many weeks they tell you with the laparoscopic myomectomy done robotically is how many weeks it was. So I feel like it was like 12 weeks that it took to recover, 12 or so weeks. It was a very long time. And so I probably was like at week number 9. And when they say 12 or whatever it is what it is. And so I was doing a little bit too much and fainted, which, was fine because it was an experience that I guess I needed to have. And I didn't hurt myself because I'm trained on how to fall. That's the first thing that they teach you, as like one of the first things that they teach you in like police training or officer training or any type of tactical training. What is this in these chairs? Is that glue? Or is that? I think there might be some glue or something. But anyway, yeah, they teach you how to fall. So I knew how to fall, even though I had no time to think. But you don't need to think when you're trained. It's automatic, ingrained in your body. It's muscle memory. So, and that's why you do it, to develop the muscle. That's why you're trying to develop the muscle memory, so you don't have to think. Because when heaven forbid you fall, you don't want to be in a situation where you're thinking, a situation where you're doing. So anyway, I didn't hit my head. Thank the universe and the ancestors. And so, yeah, I knew I was fine. And eventually I got up. And of course people came. I saw men rush. They were like, I felt like, I'm pretty sure it was a graceful fall, because, I've watched a lot of black and white movies. So I'm pretty sure that's ingrained in me too. Anyway, and I saw a couple men rush in, and then they were looking at the guy that I was with, who happened to be a white guy, and they're like, "Who are you? And why are you here? What did you do to her?" And he was like, "This is my girl." I heard them talking, and I heard one say, "I think she hit her head," and I heard my guy say, "No, I don't think she hit her head." And so, because I could hear their voices, like, should we call 911? Should we do this? Should we do that? They were so concerned. And of course the guy, he was, oh my God, That's a face I would never want to see again. To see the panic on somebody's face when they think something is wrong with you. Oh, I didn't need to see that, because he was really distraught. He really was. Um, yeah. So having said that, I ended up coming out of the whole situation, and getting up and then regaining my strength. And I was like, oh yeah, now we can go to the food court. And I think we ended up going, and he was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. yeah, I'm fine. I'm good. Like, well, I guess maybe I just needed to faint. Maybe that's what I needed at the time. I don't know. Literally went to the food court and ate. And went back to my place. So yeah, that was interesting. So fast forward, and I am with this man, okay, who I met on my journey of ending my fibroids. I met him prior to ending my fibroids, like maybe like a month or so prior to. Again, the beginning and ending of journeys. Fibroids are interesting. They're very interesting. They teach you a lot. So analyze your body and ask it questions like, why are you here? What is the message? So anyway, and read the energy within you and around you. So again, the surgery was endings and new beginnings. My new beginnings with him and my new beginnings in California. And the fibroids were not existent, other than the two that were left behind that were not symptomatic, who I didn't even know that they existed. So fast forward about maybe, I don't know, maybe 3 years into our journey, me and this guy, something to that effect. You know, by then we had done a lot and did a lot and blah blah blah, and the energy of the fibroids, they came back. So the energy of the fibroids came back, and then the fibroids came back. And so, yeah. If you read Louise Hay, and I've read a lot of Louise Hay, and not just read, but listen. I've definitely listened to more Louise Hay lately here than I've read. I used to use her book, You Can Heal Your Life, as my course curriculum when I was teaching the health and wellness course at Springfield College. So anyway, I no longer work there, so I can tell you that. But having said all that, if you were to read when she talks about fibroids, it'll say something like nursing a male hurt, or nursing a man's pain, or nursing male hurt, which is interesting, for lack of a better word, because it's like hard to understand what that means until you really unpack it, and unpack it specifically for you, what it might mean for your life situations. For me, I knew exactly what it meant. And at the time, it was a loveless, well, no, the love was there, okay, don't get me wrong. It was, the romance was missing. There was no romance. It was all business. All business. All business. And so there was no romance. There was no, and it was this acceptance of it. Again, this denial, this, shutting down of your own feelings, this shutting down of yourself, not speaking up for yourself, or accepting things, that energy. It's like a prime time environment for the fibroids, apparently, and nursing male hurt. Again, you look at the history of your fibroids, look at the history of your story, and it will probably make a lot of sense to you. you know. So anyway, and at the time, I developed a lot of wisdom and knowledge about like acupuncture somehow. And it started in Wisconsin, actually. I went to my first acupuncturist in Wisconsin to treat the fibroids, or to think about treating the fibroids, or something, and some other things too. But I didn't carry on with it because I don't know why, but I did have one acupuncture session. And so I must have remembered something about acupuncture, and I got into acupuncture for treating my fibroids. And so I found an acupuncturist who was amazing, and he was doing more than treating the fibroids. He was treating my whole body, which is what I needed. And so, and also I left that relationship at the 5-year mark because my fibroids had actually gotten worse. You know, they started, the energy started to show up, and then the actual fibroids started to flare up physically, and then they started to, you know, eventually grow. And when did I meet the acupuncturist? I met the acupuncturist later on, okay? But they started to physically grow, and then I started to educate myself in Tantra. I started to educate myself in Tantra before the fibroids started to physically grow. And I started to educate myself in the energy of Mary Magdalene before the fibroids really decided to grow, because I knew that there was things that I needed to heal. I knew that it was an energetic thing. So, you know, so before they took off, I knew there were things that needed to heal. And so I started to work on those things. But keeping one thing that was obvious, which was nursing a male's pain, which, like I said, is kind of hard to understand. But when you sit with it, and I dare you to sit with it, and I'm probably not phrasing it completely correct, but just look up Louise Hay meaning for fibroids, and you'll know. And she'll give you an affirmation as well. So anyway, mind you, the guy in my life, his mom that adopted him is like a mother to me, and she's also OBGYN, and she also gave birth to me. Like, she was the resident doctor on duty in the 80s when I was born. That's a whole another story in itself. In Wisconsin, she's a Haitian voodoo priestess, this woman. Okay. Yeah. Lots to be said. Lots to be said. Universe sets things up in such a way, you're just like, wow, this is the best play ever. And really, you know, you're the director. So, having said that, ultimately, I left the relationship because I needed to feel loved, which, you hear what I say, needed, which was problematic in a way, because on one end I realized I was loved, and I wanted to express that love. On another hand, I felt like I needed to have it and wasn't having it, like literally. So, like sex. And so therefore, you know, I ended up engaging and leaving and engaging, and it was a beautiful experience to have. My life journey has been beautiful, even with having had the fibroids. And so, yeah. And I knew that love actually would help heal my wound. Like, I knew I needed that love energy within my wound. And so, even before I would engage in any type of sexual activity I would do with this person, I would do a whole ritual. It was a whole ritual. And in some ways, you know, the ancestors were also protecting my energy. So, And I literally would take, like these flower baths and these, like, I would go to my Botanica and I would get certain things, and I wasn't messing around. And so, and then I found the acupuncturist. And so my fibroids were under control. They were under control in a beautiful way. Plus, I started taking the Chinese herbs, which really were working for me. Like when I would take them and be religious and take them, they were really working for me. The acupuncture was really working for me. At a point, the love making was really working for me at a point. And so everything was working. And I was even, having sex on my periods, which with the fibroids. And so, and not having any type of extra symptoms or anything like that. Yeah. Yeah. And then things change. Relationship at the time became controlling, and it was always there. It was always there. But it's a matter of doing something about it, noticing it and doing. So I noticed it, but had not done. So again, this nursing a male hurt, comes up again. It's very interesting. So the fibroids, they didn't come back at that point. But again, the energy is already is already developing, because again, it's energetic before you see it physically manifested, all things. So I ended up leaving that relationship, which was difficult for me to leave, but I literally had to leave my house and move to another house in order to cut that relationship off, and ultimately to another state. Okay. But it was already over when I moved to another house, because then the person couldn't find me because they were literally coming to my house, which was problematic. Again, the energy of fibroids, the energy of it. So I ended up meeting this other guy, and at the time I had gotten a therapist in my life, because there's a few times in my life where I felt like a therapist was very important for me to have, because I needed to have someone listen to me. I was the person, and always has been the person, that listens to other people, and I needed someone to listen to me. And whether or not I had to pay them to do it, then so be it. So be it. And to be a professional with some letters behind their name, fine, even better. So I had a therapist at the time, because I had noticed a pattern in my life with the guys that I had been dating, and I had noticed a pattern of abuse, whether it be, financial abuse or like emotional abuse or physical abuse. I noticed patterns of abuse in different forms, and I did not want to engage in that pattern anymore with this new guy that I started seeing. And so I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't there. And so I got a therapist to keep me in line, who really didn't, but that's but yeah, she's a fun person to talk to. Yeah, move a little bit slower. You understand why in a minute. A minute is a long time. So, I'm hungry too now. Oh, that was a big belch coming through. That's what that was. I think I can turn off my heater now. Un momento, por favor. Oh, there we go. Oh, so I entered this new relationship, therapist in tow. And from the very beginning, I noticed that the man doesn't appear to have compassion completely. And not necessarily that he didn't have compassion for me, but he didn't have a compassion for a certain group of people. And I was always like, what? So that bothered me. And I told my therapist that. And she was like, well, maybe, she was trying to rationalize it, but ultimately it would come to find out he did not have compassion completely, just like I thought in the beginning. And so again, nursing a male hurt. So the sex with him was amazing until it wasn't. Until it was one time, the last time he had, one of the last times. So it was like the second before the last time he had sex with me. I could feel it was just way off. It was just way off. It was very much so one-sided, which it had never been that way. I didn't like it. And come to find out, oh, my stomach's growling. That's a good sign. That means I'm hungry. It means I can eat something. It means I have an appetite. So I'm gonna eat something. I'm gonna give you something. I promise. Maybe some gumbo. You want some gumbo? Yeah, I want some gumbo. The gumbo. That's a gumbo belly. But anyway, yeah, I'm gonna get something to eat after this. Yeah. So anywho, sex was different that second to last time for a reason. And that's when I would discover that about this compassion thing, or lack thereof. And the details don't have anything to do with sex. Yet I could feel the energy, feel energy. So, ultimately, we broke up. Okay. And fibroids. Ultimately, we broke up. And that was that. I didn't have any issue with fibroids per se. I knew that they were there and they were obvious. I stopped going to my acupuncturist, but I wasn't having any symptoms with the fibroids other than just having discomfort, but I don't think I had frequent urination like that to that degree. So it kind of was easy to control in a way. And I knew eventually I would get rid of them, blah, blah, blah. But I was kind of like, yeah, So fast forward to February of 2024. No, January. I had just gotten back from vacation at my parents'. I had already had a new romantic interest in my life who just was this beautiful, and is this beautiful human being who I'm not attached to in any way, shape, or form. And yet we had some lovely relations. And so I get back, we get together on the 17th, and I start noticing fibroid symptoms right after that. And what I noticed was it felt like it wasn't the man's energy, no. It was the previous partners. It was their energy that had grown the fibroids. And here I am with them. And then I realized that I ended up with symptoms, like experiencing a fibroid symptom during a sexual experience with this guy. And it was a beautiful sexual experience. But anyway, after it happened, where I experienced this fibroid energy within my sex, which I needed to experience it in order for me to get to this place, the guy understood. I was still trying to understand. And that was that. And so I remember just certain things coming up for me at the time, which actually had taken me all the way back to the 80s, which I told you the energy from the fibroids started in the 80s. So having said that, And again, the first marriage having the energy of the fibroids, the second marriage, the third person. I didn't have a third marriage, but my relationships were long term. A lot of my relationships were long term. So even the third person, even though we weren't married, we were there together for like 5 years. So in some places, it's probably like a common law marriage. And then this other person, and then, so the energy had been, I guess, just collecting and being demonstrated in these different relationships. And so I get to this place where finally I have a moment with these fibroids. I mean, I had many moments, but this one was like, okay, this is different. This is a different symptom that I hadn't experienced before. And it was a very frustrating symptom because it affected my sex life, which was a problem. It was a problem because I really enjoyed having sex, and I still do. So that's when I started taking him serious again, and I said, bear with me. You'll understand why in a minute. So February comes around corner, and it's like around Valentine's Day, and I'm like supposed to be doing some really kinky stuff with my romantic partner and this, that. Anyway, it doesn't transpire, and not because of the fibroids, but they had changed my sexual life, and so they made me feel like I just needed to be celibate and just not even go there. And so I was, So I decided to be celibate effective January, because that's when I first had fibroid symptoms that were new to me. And and it was time for me to get the fibroids removed. That's when I started to look. I didn't want a laparoscopic myomectomy because it had taken me weeks to recover, too long of a process. So I started looking at alternatives, and I had looked at these alternatives before, but I didn't go with them, which one of the alternatives was a UFE, which I don't even know what that stands for right now, because you'll know why in a minute. So I started doing more research on UFEs. I suggest you do the same. I'm about to lay down because I gotta lay down. I gotta get something to eat. And so, anyway, I was doing my research on UFEs. One thing led to another. I had to get my insurance in order so that I could get the UFE done. And it wasn't until just this, October, that I was able to get my insurance together. I mean, I had this other insurance, but again, the UFE procedures, is not covered by certain insurance. So I had to get a certain type of insurance, which I finally was able to secure because the ancestors wanted me to have it. And of course, they'd set everything up. So I ended up getting this insurance that would allow me to get the UFE. And so I had the consultation with the doctor and the nurse and these people, and at the doctor's office or the clinic. And then I ended up getting the what do you call that? They put the contrast dye in your veins, and then you do the MRI so that they can see the fibroids. Because what it is with the UFE is that they go through an artery, and they actually fill that artery with some sort of a substance that keeps the blood flow from the fibroid, which causes the fibroid to ultimately soften and shrink and die. That's what it is. And so it's a process that is like an in and out treatment. And I can't think of the words, what is it, non-invasive treatment? Hopefully I'm saying that right. If I'm not, go look it up. But basically where you're in and out of the doctor's office. So, and they can go through your vein or they can go through your growing in order to, create, to block those major blood vessels from reaching the fibroids. Because the fibroids are feeding off of the blood. So, and that's why they're growing. They were growing. And so, yeah. So in the mean and between time of trying to get not surgery, but trying to get the insurance so that I get the procedure done, my fibroids are like really growing and really upset. I have symptoms like no other. I have all kinds of things like, for example, and this might be graphic for some people, but hey, I have to share it. Simply because it might be you that can relate to this. And if you can, I want you to be encouraged. I want you to be encouraged, and I want you to know that you are not alone in your journey. And it has just been a journey for me, and I understand if it has been a journey for you, auntie and husband or boyfriend or cousin, if you know someone that, a woman in your life that has dealt with it. It's probably been a journey for you too, because then you have to hear about it and you have to be supportive and all that. My dad has been very supportive, very supportive. So anyway, so I find this doctor, and then you got to find the doctor that does it. And you got to find, it's just, and there's so many places that do it. You got to do your research for the UFE and all of that. So I find this doctor who's amazing. I staff amazing. And yesterday, I get the UFE procedure. Yesterday. So I'm on 12 different medications, including a patch, fentanyl patch, that I'm supposed to take off Sunday night. It is now, I don't even know what night it is, Friday night. And yeah, so my procedure went very well yesterday. He actually had to go through the growing because of the location that my fibroids were in and because of the size that my fibroids were. And it had gotten to the place where my stomach was like a 4-month, a woman who's been pregnant for 4 months. And I had gotten, I started to get like, at one point I was getting leakage, and I was getting like breakthrough leakage, and I was getting like, I'm talking like blood. And then, at one point my periods were so long and so heavy and just so, and eventually the symptoms, they decreased a lot because they did. I was living on a healing retreat, so they had no choice but to decrease a lot, and they did. And then when I moved over to Texas with my parents, they decreased a lot more. And then, because I think some of the symptoms that I was having were like stress induced as well. Yes, stress induced for different reasons, whether it been, making sure that I have the money to cover the rent, or making sure that whatever it is. So, oh gosh, it was a lot. It was a lot. Yes, it was. It was. But I survived it, and you will too. You will too. It was a lot, Sometimes I would just bleed. I would just bleed and bleed and bleed. And so, yeah. And then, like I said, it just decreased. Just suddenly just decreased. And then I didn't have any breakthrough, like bleeding like that. It just decreased. And that decrease it just decreased. And then one time it just wasn't there. And I kept talking to my body too. And I kept telling my body, I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise. And I kept understanding my body, and I kept listening to my body, and I kept just encouraging my body and telling my body, you know, there will be no more leakage. There, you know, your period is gonna go. My period is normal, and da 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 da. And my period did become normal, and my leakage did stop. All of these things did cease. And one day I was sitting, and my belly told me that, yeah, you need vitamin D. And I remember my doctor told me that I needed vitamin D, but did I listen? Obviously not. And so yeah, and so I listened to my body when my body was like, hey, vitamin D. And so I got the vitamin D and I started taking it. Come to find out, there's a connection between vitamin D deficiency, and I'm not a medical doctor, okay? Consult with your medical doctor, because that's what they're always going to tell you to say in these videos. Having said that, you know, I found a correlation between my fibroids growing and a lack of vitamin D. And so I started taking vitamin D. And somehow I noticed a difference, even though it didn't make any sense for me to notice a difference, because how could you physically notice a difference? But you know your body. You just, even if something makes a difference on a microscopic level, you know that in your body when you're connected to it. You say, oh, okay, yeah, this is it. And so, yeah, so I had already again started that path of healing the fibroids, and then I knew the UFE was coming. I wanted to control the symptoms, and so I got the symptoms under the control, and then the UFE came. The only symptoms that I had before I got the UFE were still like, I had the bloating. Oh my God, I had bloating like nobody's business. Discomfort, heaviness, yeah, irritability, just because, yeah, because just have, I had massive, they had grown and they had multiplied. They had multiplied like times, I don't even know. They had grown and multiplied times, I don't even know. And so, anyway, yeah. And then I had frequent urination. The frequent urination was really what had just, oh, and then, you know, yeah, I have frequent urination. Now, by this time, like I said, I didn't have like the breakthrough spotting or anything like that. Not to that degree. I would have like every once in a while, but you know, during, I would say, the month of February, I was having it like daily, you know, to the point where I ended up, first of all, I ended up wearing panties, which I don't like to do. Okay. Then I ended up having to wear panty liners, which was like, what is really going on around here? So, but I was thankful for these two things that somebody created because I needed it. So, anywho, what else? Yeah, so the UFE procedure I had yesterday, they went through the growing. They gave me like the best drugs ever. And of course, I wake up from the sedation like, what procedure? What are you even saying? My mother was there just like she was there for my first procedure, you know, and my dad showed up. My dad showed up when we got to the house. He was there. And what I mean by showed up, like immediately, he comes to my bedroom, kisses me on my head, asks me if I'm okay, you know, cares, which is important. So my parents again were there, and they were there last time. They were there this time, and they were there last time. So this time, I'm super excited because I already noticed that my fibroids have shrunken, and it's been less. It hasn't even been a full day. So my fibroid surgery was yesterday, probably at like 4. Yeah, it's been a full day. But I noticed my symptoms going away. I know because I could tinkle more freely. I could pee more freely instead of feeling like I'm like, starting and stopping, starting and stopping. I would feel that, but it would release more. And that's because the fibroids were just blocking certain things. And so, yeah. And then I noticed that my stomach, the bloating from the fibroids went down. The only bloating that I have is from the procedure itself, which doctor said is normal. So, and goes away on its own. I also noticed that sense of heaviness go away, like just that heaviness that I was feeling in my stomach just dissipate. And like it's the second day after the surgery. So actually, surgery yesterday, well, first day after the surgery. So it's day one after the surgery. So pain totally in control, and I think it's because I have the pain patch on. And also the doctor stayed on top of my pain. He gave me some sort of shot in my stomach. Let me see. Let me show you. I can't. Hold on, let me show you. I'm gonna just put my phone down so you can see. Hold on. You see, that's the shot that he gave me. And then he went through the growing, which I can't show you, but it's right here. I still have the little, what do you call that? Cotton thing that they put on you. So, anyway, I feel really good. That's what I wanted to tell you. So if you get the UFE, make sure you get a doctor that stays on top of pain management, because if you read about the UFE procedures, you're going to read a lot about some women experiencing pain. And, and for me, I have not had that experience. I have had zero pain, and I have not had to take even the hard pain medicine. They gave me some pain medicine in here along with you guys, what do you call this, the nasal spray, emergency treatment nasal spray, just in case of overdose. And when me and my mother heard that, because of course you gotta have your body, your person there. You gotta have a person there that loves you enough, that is going to listen to all these instructions when you have your procedure, because you're not going to be driving and knowing who you even are. So that someone has to know about your medicines and everything that you need to be taking, because you're going to be taking them around the clock. Hence, I don't know what time it is, probably around time for me to take my medicine, but like, for example, you have a schedule. You have a meditation. Yeah, you have a meditation schedule. Medicine is the medicine. Meditation is the medicine, and also the medicine. So, and this is a 5-day schedule. So typically, people who get the UFE, like, they return to work after a few days versus a few weeks with the laparoscopic myomectomy. And that's why I opted for this procedure, because I was like, number one, you're not cutting me open, because even with my laparoscopic myomectomy, they had to cut me open and do like probably about a 4 or 5 inch cut at my bikini line, which was fine, but it took longer to heal that. Okay. So having said all that, and plus they had other scars and incisions done robotically, and I was like, no, why would I go through that again when I could just do a procedure where they do a shot, they take and they go through your artery. Look it up so you know specifically what they do, child, because I'm on 12 different drugs, like I done told you, and a pain patch. So, and my sedation was just yesterday. So don't be listening to everything I'm telling you. Do your research. Having said that, I feel really good. And you will too. You will too. You will too. Let's just say by faith, absolutely. And so, yeah. So I didn't have to take that hardcore medicine that they were warning. If you notice that she's overdosed on this medicine, because apparently it must be easy to overdose on, because it's a really strong medicine. If you notice that she overdosed, here, use our overdose kit. We're not doing that. We're not even going there. And they were saying to use it if your pain is above a 4. My pain doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. I don't have any pain. So, I take the patch off on Sunday night, and that's the pain patch. Also, what you'll notice with women who talk about the UFE, they say they didn't realize that the pain was coming in, like the pain that they would have after the surgery. And that's why staying on top of the pain is key, I feel like, to the success of you not feeling any pain. Is to stay on top of it. Like, they started giving me medications, of course, before I even got into the surgery. Like, they started giving me certain pills. They started putting me on my medication schedule right away. And again, the nurses there and the staff there, everybody treated me very gingerly, very much so, with care and with love and with respect. With respect. Because I came in there demanding it, first of all, because I was hungry. I had been fasting. I've been fasting, and we all know how that is. I was hangry. Plus, I had to drive, me and my mom, we had to drive 2 hours to get there. Plus, I was cranky. Oh my God. So, yeah. Plus, my surgery was last. I had to go last because I was the only person that couldn't go through the wrist and had to go through the groin. So they had to switch up the whole operating room for me. And I was number 5. And number 5 is my number. So, yeah. And I went in surgery at like 3. And 3 also is my number. So, it was just perfect. It was perfect. So, yeah. So, I have another medicine to take. Let me see. At 8. And it will be the naproxen and the Dolcosate. Okay. And I'm not going to show you one medicine. I'm not going to show you like the actual front of the prescription bottle because that's my information. But I will tell you this much. You're going to be taking a lot of the kind of like a Tylenol. The most, I feel. And must have been like a firework or something. And the medicine that the dog is going crazy. The medicine that I haven't needed to take, the strong one, is the hydromorphone. So, yeah, I don't know what that boom was. Sound like fireworks or something. If I can get him to bark like this when I need him for things, and he don't. But anyway, so yeah, so I want to encourage you, if you have fibroids, a lot of women have experienced it, and they say when you get to menopause age, allegedly they shrink down naturally on their own. I couldn't wait for that. I was ready to be sexually active again and ready to have my life back in a way that I feel like they kind of just, made things challenging. I hear a lot of rustling around. But anyway, so yeah. So now my fibroids are gone. And they're on this journey of shrinking and dissipating. So, yeah. And what comes up next is the next chapter, which is, again, funny how it happens. You have a death and then you have a rebirth with the journey of the fibroids, I've noticed. And so here we are with the death of the fibroids and now the rebirth of the new journey. So, yeah. So, yeah, you guys, there's options. And with the UFE, from what they say, you're able to still have kids, from what they say. And so, yeah, you get to keep your uterus, which you want to keep your uterus if you can, because, I know I want to keep mine, and I am, because it's here. She ain't going nowhere, So yeah, beautiful journey. Glad that it's over. Learned a lot, especially the topic of nursing a male hurt. Don't do that. Leave that alone. All right, you guys. I love you all. I'm gonna find out what that big boom was. And yeah, we'll chat next time. Bye for now. Be encouraged. Bye for now.